today we are reviewing the Vostok Komandirske. This is the third time I've actually filmed this for a number of reasons, a lot of them technical. However, this has been a joy every single time. And the Komandirske is a wristwatch that I've heard a lot about and I have respected from afar, but now is the time where I actually get to have one of these bad boys in person. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of pluses, there's a lot of negatives, and let me just lay them out very simply. Off the bat, the design is very, very unique. The Komandirske is a watch that really doesn't really look like any other watch. You might say that it looks like the Amphibia, however the Komandirske was, I believe, created in 1965. The Vostok was about, I think, 5 years later. So the Komandirske came before the Amphibia, and the Komandirske really laid the groundwork for that wristwatch. So the design is gonna be polarizing. Some people will like it, some people won't, and maybe depending on the different Komandirske, maybe it'll have more fans than others. This one, I feel like will be one of the ones that kind of put people on the edge. Just because, how many watches have a bright turquoise green dial? Can you name any? Because the only one that I can name is the one that's on my wrist. It's a very, very unique design. And this one, I feel like, has that iconic little red star on it. Maybe even infamous red star. It's a very, very openly, Soviet inspired wristwatch, and that's what this watch is at its core. It's a Soviet wristwatch. The intro that you guys heard in the beginning wasn't the Soviet anthem, it was the Russian national anthem. And I believe this watch was made during the Russian Federation. So yeah, this guy is not a baby of the Soviets. Some things I really do like about this wristwatch is the kind of the polish around the, how do I explain it? On the case. It's very different than all the other Vostoks I've handled. A lot of the other ones, actually no, it's similar to some, dissimilar to others. However, it is a kind of a more flamboyant design than the Amphibian. The Komandirske is a commander's wristwatch. That's what Komandirske means. It means commander. And the Soviets, I believe, not the Soviets, but Vostok supplied these to the defense ministry along with many other wristwatches. So this was probably, let's just say that if you were serving as, an officer in 1969 and you had a wristwatch, chances are it would have been a Komandirske. That's not even like a question actually. Yeah, they started supplying watches to the defense ministry in 1965. And this was just it's sort of, I feel like, an icon of the Soviet wristwatch manufacturing. When the Soviet Union dissolved, Vostok became a separate, company, private held company, and they actually gave President George H.W. Bush, I believe. George H.W. Bush. So that's not George W. Bush, it's his father, the president who was, I believe, president during the majority of the 80s. Yes. And to Senator John Kerry. So, that watch was called the Desert Shield. And if you guys are part of the mailing list, I would have sent you a link with kind of cool information about that. I found a quote by a person who served during the Gulf War, not the Gulf War, excuse me. The first Gulf War, is that what it was called? I believe the first Gulf War, and yeah, he said he was going to get one for keepsake, and that's actually a Vostok Komandirske that I'm interested in getting in the future. This wristwatch, I'm not exactly for sure the water resistance. It doesn't say anywhere on the dial or anywhere. The movement I'm unsure of, except I know it's 17 joules because it says it on the dial. If I did a little research, I could find it. But the thing is, just I don't really care. The only thing I care about with this movement is the fact that it doesn't have a quick set function. So that is the one downside I'd say about, I guess, that's the one downside about the wristwatch design, I'd say, is that it doesn't have a quick set function. And it is really annoying. So I just kind of treat it as a no-date wristwatch. Some slight differences between the Amphibia and this watch is that this watch has crown guards. So keep that in mind. It still has a pretty, I'd say a fairly large crown, but it has crown guards, and like most, I believe most Vostoks don't have crown guards. Yes, it has a bi-directional bezel, like all Vostoks, in all honesty. It keeps fairly good time. It's accurate, definitely. And I've been wearing it for about the past 6 or 7 days, and it's been holding up fine. You know, I've been washing my hands with it on. Let's just say I haven't been babying the wristwatch, whether it's water or just exercising or whatever, and it's been holding up. And that just kind of adds to the testament of the fact that this is a military wristwatch. This is a watch that was designed specifically for the military. So maybe that's one of the reasons why the design is kind of off-putting, because it does have a lot of flair to it. But I believe when it was designed to serve a purpose rather than to look pretty. So it's a military watch to the core. Some things about Vostok. Vostok was, I believe, what we know of Vostok today started as, I think, the Moscow Watch Company was evacuated during 1942 to Chistopol, and they were known as the Chistopol Watch Factory. They began producing wristwatches in mass. In 1965, they created the Komandirske, began, like I said earlier, giving watches to the Defense Ministry. After that, I believe, they released the Amphibia. Things are going pretty well. And then I believe after the Soviet Union collapsed, they became a private company, as I mentioned, and they began selling watches to people in Italy, Germany, the UK, the United States. They became an international player. And during this time period, I don't exactly know how popular the wristwatches were. I'm sure that if you grew up during the early 90s, you probably would have never ever spotted one. If you have, let me know the story in the comments. Yeah, so they became known to Western markets, and they started opening and building, and I believe in 2004 they filed for bankruptcy, and the company got restarted again, and now it is to this day. Vostok is in I think it's called Tatarstan. I don't know, maybe it's like a province or something in Russia, some type of, I'm not exactly sure how their system works. But there it is to this day, pumping out wristwatches. I've watched a few videos on how Vostok makes their watches, and it's pretty cool. I'll leave a link to, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but definitely I encourage you to go look it up, because these watches are watches that should be respected more within, I believe, the online watch community. So that is it. That's it, guys. That's my thoughts about the Komandirske. It's an excellent wristwatch. Thank you very, very much, Sean, for sending it and giving it to me. I'll probably do a re-review of this watch. I believe, in maybe about 6 months, to really kind of see how my thoughts about it have changed. I forgot to mention this before I end the video, is that the lume is fairly good, and also it's about 38 millimeters, so it's a nice size as well. Alright, guys, I apologize for the lighting. It's starting to get darker and darker as the day goes on, so I apologize about the lighting. Thank you very, very much for watching the video, and Akuma out.